shall be starting the
Hello, am I audible? Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm with you.
very happy Navratri to all. Self, case Mr. I request Dean, Sir PD, the
get that thank you, sir. In our request, please this in spite of your schedules. Sir, you are present here this afternoon.
I'm not able to hear.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Hello.
HBNI,
I'm not
please,
able
you
to-
increase your volume. HBNI, no sound.
Hello.
इनकी वेबएक्स चल रही है ये वेबएक्स पे है
Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear now.
Oh, yes. Good afternoon to everyone, and sorry for this small technical errors at our net systems. I welcome you all on behalf of Omi Baba National Institute on the occasion of the inauguration functions of the course Disaster Management, Challenges in Chemical, Biological, Radiological, and Nuclear Emergencies. Most of the participants and resource persons have joined online for these functions, either on WebEx or YouTube platform. I'm glad that our chancellor, Dr. Anil Kakodkar, has joined online and in spite of his busy schedule, he given us some time to be online and to inaugurate these functions. Sir, your presence here this afternoon is a great moral booster to all the participants of the course and SBNI functionaries. I extend a warm welcome to our beloved Vice Chancellor, Professor U. Kamasi Mudali, for his constant encouragement and interest in conducting this course. And there were many discussions he made with directors of this course, S. Mishra and myself. I am glad to extend a warm welcome to the course director, Dr. Rishikesh Mishra, DRRF Fellow and former Distinguished Scientist, BRC. I am thankful to the resource persons. One is Dr. Mishra himself. Others are Dr. Sunil Kumar Mishra, former outstanding scientist and officer in charge, BRC Safety Council Secretary, and senior consultant, NNR NDMA. He is with us here physically. Mr. S.K. Ghosh, former head, Director of Regulatory Inspections, ARB, senior consultant, NNR NDMA. Dr. Kunar Sharma, Assistant Director Safety, Chemical, DGFA SLI. Dr. Mitra Basu, Scientist G, Naval Dockyard, Ministry of Defense. Dr. S.P. Lakshman, Scientific Officer F, ARB. Dr. Jaikumar C, Additional Professor, Department of Psychosocial Support in Disaster Management, NIMANS. I welcome you all, sir, and thanks for taking more time and of you in spite of your other things. I've seen the way you discuss in length while preparing the syllabus of this program. I've seen that last more than 6 months, there were large number of meetings to refine this course again and again. And this course has been approved by the Applied System Analysis Board of Studies of HBNI. And this is a credited course for those who are like we have the credits, provided they complete the minimum attendance as well as take part in examination systems of HBNI. We are fortunate enough to be backed by HBNI Center Office for Functionaries, Associate Dean Professor B.K. Nayak, Professor D.K. Maiti, Professor Naveen Kumar, Professor S. Pal, Professor S.K. Ghosh, Professor Dipanvita Datta, and we are supported by our Registrar P.C. Selvin, Deputy Registrar Suresh Nair, our AO3 Madam Bharti Suvarna, Nita Rathod, our APO, Rekha Narang, we are supported as a for adapting many documents to H. Mishra, C. David Raju, C. Ravi Bilgi, and others. And last, not the least, our dedicated IT resources who know their task, and I welcome them for this function. And thank you all once again.
Thank you, Dean Sir, for your welcome speech and for kind words. Good afternoon and very, very happy Navratri to all. Honorable Chancellor HBNI, Dr. Anil Kakotkar Sir, respected Vice Chancellor Professor U. Kamachi Mudali, Dean Professor Naik, Associate Dean, senior officials from HBNI and its constituent institute, OCCs, faculty members, dear friends and students, Very, very good afternoon and very, very happy Navratri to you all. I welcome you all for today's inaugural function for HBNI's new value addition course being handled online on disaster management challenges in CBRN emergencies. This is a unique course in the sense that it is very specific to multidisciplinary CBRN emergencies, that is chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear emergencies. It will be very useful to students in enhancing their career growth as well as to all those professionals from industries. I am extremely obliged to VC and Dean HBNI for giving this opportunity to host the important online course on disaster management and would like to share some important highlights about it. The course is aimed to develop a detailed understanding of CBRN disaster management, to impart education, knowledge, technique on CBRN disaster management, to contribute for disaster preparedness, capacity building and prevention, to discuss impacts, mitigation and response to such disasters, to present case studies of CBRN accidents and lessons learned therefrom. Respected sir, I am very happy to inform you that we have received an excellent response for this online course, as a total of about 80 participants have registered for this course. The participants include science and engineering graduates, emergency handlers from nuclear plants, automobile and cement industries, professionals from companies, scientists from CI and OCCs of HBNI, and others. Disaster management is a process that is ideally developed to help society and communities. It helps people understand the complete process of man-made or natural disasters, the process of dealing with these such disasters and their consequences. Our country is very vulnerable to disasters of as many as 30 types or more. Disaster management therefore becomes all too important to us for tackling the hazards during different phases, that is before, during and after the disaster. A disaster can be an epidemic disease like COVID-19 or industrial failure such as Bhopal gas tragedy or radiological emergency of a kind of Mayapuri incident at Delhi. India suffers huge losses of the order of 70,000 crore annually due to disasters. Most of them are natural disasters, of course, floods, earthquakes, cyclone, etc. CBRN emergencies involve situations where threats arise due to CBRN agents, hazardous chemicals, radiological substances, toxic chemicals, and or biological warfare factors. Excellent DM practices need to be followed all the time for mitigation of any CBRN incident. And our syllabus is drawn to cover all these aspects of disaster management and risk reduction. That is the guidelines, the management plan, principles and practices in reduction of the disasters, biological and chemical emergencies, radiological and nuclear emergency management, waste management, CBRN threats, and socio-psychological movements, including radiological framework on management of emergencies. The course will also cover the field exercises and demonstration of DM techniques. The course is commencing with inauguration today and will continue till December 23 for stage 1, and from 15th January 2024 to first week of April 2024, the stage 2 will be there in the process. Lectures are planned at 15 hours for 1.5 hours in 2 parts. Sir, 30 minutes lecture will be there in 2 parts with 10 minutes break in between. And the classes will be conducted on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on all working days, and of course not on the holidays, during this duration of 1.5 hours. I am very glad to inform you that HBNI has drawn a very distinguished faculty for the BRC. faculty from BRC, NDMA, AERB, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Labor and Employment, and IMANS, as mentioned by Dean sir. And faculty will be further strengthened for field exercises and case studies by other experts from NDRF. The desired attendance for the course is about 80% or more, and the examination for the course will be conducted after every stage. That is sometime in January 2024 for first stage and April 2024 for the second stage. And we'll be providing these certificates to all these successful participants and those who write the exams also successfully. And of course, the enrollment for the stage 2 will be automatically done for those who are clearing the stage 1 examinations. Thank you, and I wish you all a grand success in your endeavors. Jai Hind. Thank you. Now I request our Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor U. Kamachi Modali, for his valuable guidance and opening remarks. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chancellor HPNI, Professor P.D. Nayak, Dean HPNI, Post Director Dr. Misra, and Sri Sunil Kumar Misra from XBRC and the National Disaster Management Authority, my senior colleagues from HPNI, the other faculties, Dr. Kunal Sharma, Dr. Mitra Basu Chillar, Dr. S.P. Lakshmanan, Dr. Jay Kumar, Dr. S.K. Ghosh. The participants for this value-added course, Disaster Management, Challenges in CBRN Emergencies. I am very pleased to note that there are nearly 85 participants with 50 young students. That's very, very important. I welcome all the participants for this event and other special invitees from the HPNI, CAs and OCC for this inaugural function. I'm extremely delighted and feel honored that we have with us our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. Anil Kakotkar. Amidst his busy schedule, he accepted to join online to address the gathering and inaugurate this value-added course. HPNI has been doing a number of value-added courses on very specialized topics so that the students, the employees of our department will benefit by attending such specialized courses. I think this is the first course in the engineering sciences category, which has been very meticulously conceived by the faculties. I want to congratulate the entire faculties, Dr. H. Misra, Sri Sunil Kumar Misra, Dr. Kunal Sharma, Dr. Mitra Basu Chillar, Dr. Lakshmanan, Dr. Jay Kumar and Dr. S.K. Ghosh.
के पास कब्जा है इसका। अच्छा, ईडी के पास एक प्लॉट का कब्जा है। किस आधार पे गया है? ईडी का गया कि वो जिसका आदमी का हुआ है उसकी सारी संपत्ति ईडी से अटैच हो गई थी।
For meticulously designing the course, taking into consideration of various aspects of disaster management, and all of us know that the whole country, all of us were knowing the importance of disaster management during the recent COVID-19 attack. The whole country comes to know about the disaster management authority, the act, and what we have to do with respect to managing the disaster, which is man-made disaster. We all know that there are many natural disasters, there are many man-made disasters, and all of them are creating challenges with respect to one of the four factors, that is chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear emergencies.
Yes.
So we need to train the professionals and also the younger generation of our country to learn about the various fundamental concepts and principles of disaster management through an organized curriculum and also the measure that we have to undertake to manage the disaster and also reduce the risk that is coming out of the both natural and man-made disasters. And there is an act, Disaster Management Act, that is 2005, and the government of India gives a lot of importance to this, which you can see from the Executive Council of this disaster management is chaired none other than by our Honorable Prime Minister himself. So without taking a lot of time between you and our Honorable Chancellor, as you are, I am also very eager to listen to him, who is an outstanding personality, well known in this area of disaster management, who spent his lifetime and also made many disaster reduction methodologies that is very well relevant to radiological and nuclear challenges and emergencies in our country. Sir, we are very honored that you are here and you are going to address the participants of this course. Very warm welcome to you, sir. And I also now appreciate all the faculties and the students who are participating in this program. As it was told by the course director, the course is going into two different stages. The stage one giving the introduction and fundamental concepts, and stage two is giving an advanced part of it.
Yes, sir.
And in both stages, there will be examination. I understand that those who are passing the stage one will only go to the stage two.
Right, sir.
And they should also have 80% minimum attendance for both stages. And I appreciate the team that has come with the proposal. And I want to thank all my colleagues in HPNI for undertaking this very important subject, disaster management challenges in CBRN emergencies. Thank you so much. And I look forward to the inaugural address by our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. Anil Kakotkar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because there was some technical issue in between. But I'm very happy to join all of you in initiating this course, online course on disaster management challenges in chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear emergencies. And first of all, I want to compliment the organizers for choosing the right title. Because, there is a distinct difference between a disaster and emergencies. And I want to talk for a moment on that difference because that's important in terms of management of the CBRN emergencies. So when you talk about disasters, it sort of it creates a trauma. When you witness a disaster, it has a tendency to create a trauma among the larger public. Those who are part of, those who suffer the disaster, but also the rest of them. Whereas when you are talking about an emergency, it is kind of, impacts a limited domain, at least psychologically. And so perception of an emergency and perception of a disaster are, that difference is something that the safety professionals should appreciate. In fact, I had long time back, some decades ago, in the context of nuclear safety and nuclear disasters, I had written a paper in nuclear safety on this distinction, perception of nuclear safety and nuclear disaster. And for example, we can say that the risk is measured as the probability into the consequence. and you can minimize the risk by both reducing the consequence and also reducing the probability, the core damage frequency, for example. Now, this may be okay for safety professionals in terms of working out the risk, but in terms of public acceptance, uh, you know, an impact, a consequence beyond a certain threshold, when it moves from the emergency domain to a disaster domain, I think it's very hard for a public to accept such a disaster, regardless of very low risk that it may pose. This is what we have seen happening in the context of major disasters like Chernobyl, Fukushima, and others. For example, if you really measure nuclear risk in Fukushima, there has been very little. Those consequences have been little. The uh, the nuclear related impact has been very little, but because it led to a kind of large scale evacuation, it did create a trauma, of course, in the backdrop of a tsunami, but it did create a trauma as a consequence of this accident at the Fukushima reactor. And so it had a deep impact on public mind. It had impact on nuclear programs worldwide. Although the safety consequences, I would claim the reactor may have been destroyed, but the safety consequences in public domain had been minimal. So I think it's very important to understand this distinct difference between a disaster and an emergency, and recognize that in public mind, a disaster, once something goes to the scale of a disaster, is actually unacceptable despite the lowest frequency, lowest risk that it may pose. Now, here we're talking about management of emergencies and the challenges in that management. And I thought I'll make this point clear because dealing with people is an integral part of such management, and we should understand this. Now, many times what really happens is, in particularly in nuclear, I know we talk about as low as reasonably achievable. So we try to minimize the dose to people. Now, in the normal situation, this works well. Nuclear program has been able to manage well with minimum dose, hardly any radiation consequence, and that's what we distinguish ourselves with. But when it comes to disasters, and we follow the kind of as low as reasonably achievable principle, or the so-called the linear no threshold principle, which dictates the radiation dose that can be given to people, we end up in creating disturbance of a much larger magnitude, which goes into a disaster. And that is what creates this issue of acceptance of nuclear power. I must tell you a consequence of such a mindset. For example, the first emergency exercise in public domain that was done at Tarapur, a public announcement was made that we are going to conduct an emergency drill. That was the term at that time it was used. And that emergency drill got translated into Hindi by a Hindi newspaper as Apat Khudai. And then that got conveyed to people through that newspaper. So large number of people got impacted, they got fearful, and they decided to flee from Boisar. So Boisar station had no tickets to sell. It became that bad. So, and that is because of this perception. A similar thing happened when NDMA wanted to conduct, they created its document about disaster management, and they wanted to conduct a drill. And I have been, of course, advising in those days that we should look at this emergency management in terms of a broader emergency management framework, not necessarily only nuclear, because basic elements of emergency management, whether it is CBRN kind or it is of other kind, like the earthquake, like the floods, like even drought, the principles of saving people, principles of mitigation, uh, minimizing the consequences, uh, principles of emergency evacuation, sheltering. Uh, Many of them are actually common. And so at that time, I had advised that the emergency management manuals should be written in a manner that all these common elements are same regardless of the kind of disaster management we are talking about. And then you should have a supplementary document which is specific to each one of them, including the chemical, the biological, the radiological, nuclear. And so that, both, because this problem is not just in public, this problem is also on part of people who are engaged in disaster management or emergency management. And and I hope that is happening uh, because it attracts undue attention and sometimes leads to undue fear. Whereas we should have a document, we should exercise these documents, we should carry out the drills. All these things are important, but it should be done in a manner that we don't cause unnecessary fear in the minds of public. And that is because, as I said earlier, the trauma is something which public cannot understand and cannot accept, and it has to deal with we're talking about technologies going forward. We're talking about larger energy involved in these technologies. And you can make a comparison. For example, in case of a transport accident, you travel by a bullock cart, travel by bicycle, travel by car, travel by train, travel by plane. The safety of travel, I would submit to you, is actually best in air travel and the worst in the bullock cart travel. Whereas the potential for creation or causing a trauma in public mind is highest in air travel and minimum in bullock cart. And then in between you have the rail travel and the car travel, bicycle travel, bullock cart travel. So this, I think, is something that we need to understand, and that can be done by way of, first of all, improving our own understanding. Just to give you an example, in case of radiological damage or radiological emergency, uh, take the case of uh, a dirty bomb, for example. You have radiological material, and then along with that, you have the explosive, and that chemical explosive creates dispersal of the radiological material, but it has much larger psychological potential, psychological harm compared to a normal explosive, simply because of that term radiology. To kind of allay those fears, I remember my colleague, Mr. Kushwaha, and his colleagues at that time had conducted experiments in Pune where they actually measured the the radiological impact, radiation dose arising out of uh, such a device, a radiological device. And in most of the cases, I can't say 100%, but in most of the cases, it was found that the radiation dose of consequence was actually around the same area, same distance as the consequence of the blast or consequence of other harm that can be caused by blast. So the idea was to say that, well, the damage because of the radiological device is not going to be very large compared to a normal chemical detonation which might take place. Now, I'm sure, and we need to convey this. So all these people engaged in emergency management should be aware of these kind of things. And secondly, we should also inform public so that there is no fear of a dirty device. And as I said, there are case by case variations. There could be also some differences on account of how the weather pattern, how the wind is blowing and all. But these are, in this particular case, to my mind, second order effects. But I think we should have a full knowledge base to minimize the trauma. That's the point I want to highlight. I think the same thing is true in the consequence of the chemical and biological and, of course, nuclear uh, device. The sphere of influence could be much larger, and we should have systems in place to deal with this. But the point I'm making is that there must be scientific understanding which must be as close to the true situation as it can be, and design our emergency management processes and procedures in accordance with that. I'm sure that this course will make a significant contribution in terms of conveying the right information and first of all to the so-called first responders or other people involved in emergency management, and also to kind of communicating information to public, and also to communicate that information in a language which people get a rational perspective in terms of dealing with such situations. So on one side, while a course of this kind would help creating that capability in the country, of course, NDMA is there. They have done a lot of work. I'm aware of some of the initial work that NDMA has done. You have the response forces and their training. And so today country is much better in terms of dealing with such emergencies, and going forward through such courses, I think we should be able to enhance the capability within the country, both in terms of the first responders, in terms of the managers of disaster management, and the public at large in dealing with this. I just want to highlight that I'm not talking about in terms of CBRN, but in terms of disaster management. I have seen Japan, how it dealt with these emergencies in public domain, because I had an occasion to visit uh, Japan maybe within a month or so after the Fukushima disaster. And I have seen the great responsible behavior that Japanese public has displayed uh, in terms of both behavior in public domain as well as behavior in their own personal life during those periods. I think we must prepare our country to take things to that level, and it's an activity which we need to persist in a continuous mode, uh, right from the beginning with young children all the way to elderly population. And if we do that, then I think we'll certainly transform ourselves into a resilient society, to be able to deal with such things. So while preparing public is an important part, but also in terms of design, in terms of developing technologies for dealing with such emergencies, I think again a lot of research and technology development is required, and I'm also aware of some of these developments that had taken place at least at that time in BARC. Now I'm sure things must have become much better and much more comprehensive. But that research is important. The public awareness, public training is important, and also a character building in terms of responsible behavior among the public is also important. And of course, to be able to do that, the first responders have to be people uh, who should set example before the public, so that public can emulate a right kind of response. So I think HBNI organizing such a course is an important thing. I'm not saying that all these elements would be incorporated in that program, uh, but I'm sure it would be as good as it can be. And going forward, we should look at this domain in all its comprehensive character and make sure that the future courses are made that much more enriched and comprehensive. So I wish to compliment the participants to this program, the resource persons who are taking part in conducting this program. I wish to compliment HBNI for organizing this program. Uh, Maybe gradually we should move in terms of supporting more research in these areas, because it spans, of course, each one of these subjects, the impact of chemical uh, toxins, impact of biological toxins, impact of radiological toxins, and of course the nuclear damage that can be caused. So this is an area of a lot of research and the technologies to mitigate the impact of this research. Uh, we have made a lot of progress, but more progress needs to be made. So HBNI would do well in both. On one side, the education and training of people, and on the other side, the research to make this world a safer world. Uh, so I wish to congratulate everybody involved in this endeavor, and expect that all those who are taking part in this program will come out stronger, feel themselves benefited by this program. My good wishes to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your very valuable advice and inaugurating the course on this very important subject, disaster management. We will certainly follow your advice and guidelines, and we will evolve this course into each time into a better one. And we will make it very attractive, and we will also see that a large number of people, not only from HPNI, but also from the science and engineering institutions, will get benefited out of attending this course. And we will definitely take into consideration your advice with respect to the course structure and the way we evolve it with the time. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sir U. Kamchi Mudli, Vice Chancellor, HBNI. Professor P.D. Naik, Dean, HBNI. Dr. H.M. Mishra, Course Director and former Distinguished Scientist, BARC. Faculty members, invitees, and the most anxious undergraduates and postgraduate participants. Good afternoon to all of you, and I welcome you to this program. I have the privilege of introducing the experts with the most illustrious background who will be covering various sessions in this program. Dr. Rishikesh Mishra, who is the course director, and he is the sort of kingpin for structuring and running the program, is former distinguished scientist, Bhabha Atomic Center, associate director, and he is a short stint in NDMA as a senior consultant, nuclear and radiological emergency management. He is a highly accomplished with rich experience in various aspects of reprocessing, red waste management. Shri S.K. Ghosh, who is presently working as a senior consultant, nuclear and radiological management in National Disaster Management Authority, is MTech, UDCT. He is former head, Directorate of Regulatory Inspection, AERB, member SARCOP, ACPSR, and presently working as a senior consultant, NDMA. He was a licensed shift engineer for operating nuclear reactors and has worked at senior level, overseeing safety, licensing, regulatory inspection of nuclear power plants, and radiation facilities. He has taken lead role in preparation of many regulatory documents in India and IAEA. Dr. Mitra Basu Chillar is MD Medicine. He is a management expert in healthcare administration. He is a scientist G in Naval Dockyard Ministry of Defense, presently working in Mumbai. He has worked as a leader of CBRN team in one of the DRDO laboratories, very important laboratories on the direction of in the area of CBRN. He is a trained Gold Commander and Six Sigma expert. He has also rich experience in training of different cadres on CBRN emergency management. Dr. Jay Kumar will be covering one very important aspect of the disaster management, that is psychosocial aspect. He is PhD from NIMHANS. He is right now additional professor, Department of Psychological Support in Disaster Management, NIMHANS, Bangalore. He is trained on community-based psychosocial care and disaster mental health. He has specialization in psychological support and mental health services in disasters, stress and well-being of first responders. A very important aspect of disaster management is taking care of the first responders. Dr. Kunal Sharma is PhD, MTech in Chemical Engineering. Right now he is working as Assistant Director, Safety in Chemical in Ministry of Labor and Employment, posted in New Delhi. He is a very successful researcher in the field of disaster management with PhD and many publications. He has worked in industries on chemical safety, HAZOF studies, next generation disaster management data. He has worked in various aspects of disaster management, disaster risk reduction, SOP preparation, training, document review, and safety review. Dr. Lakshmanan is Dr. S.P. Lakshmanan is PhD, IIT Guwahati, and he has expertise in thermal and fluid services. He will be covering dispersion modeling, which is important part of CBRN disaster. He is right now working as a scientific officer F in Atomic Energy Regulatory Board in the fields of offsite emergency exercises framework, nuclear radiological emergency management. He has many national and international publications, the area of fluid behavior under various process conditions, review of startup transients in natural circulation, boiling water system, emergency management, hazard assessment, extended station blackout analysis for VVR's 1000 megawatt reactor and PPC. Now these are the faculty members, and their structured detail will be covered in course of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And of course, the faculty member, the most important is our Sri S.K. Misraji himself. He is our 17th batch training school and a mechanical engineer from Raipur NIT College. He has not said anything about him, but he has about 10 years experience in the disaster management as he worked with NDMA for some 10 years as senior consultant N&R. And before that, he was handling the responsibilities in operation, design, maintenance, and emergency management of research reactors like Dhruva and Cyrus. Thank you, sir. And sir, with this, we are coming to the end of the program. And with your permission, I have to deliver this important task of vote of thanks. So, good evening, respected sirs and all. I, on behalf of myself and the entire team engaged in development of the value addition course in disaster management, would like to convey my deep regard and my heartfelt thanks to the chief guest of today's function, Padma Vibhushan Dr. Anil Kakotkar sir, Chancellor HBNI, for his highly motivated, inspiring, and talk, very, very informative talk. And sir, thank you for giving us very valuable insights and also the guidelines for improving the course further, which I assure you that we will be able to do in the next few months' time. Your ideas on about the research work and plus the first responders' responsibility in public education and training are, sir, very, very important. To some extent, we have tried to cover those topics here, but as our Vice Chancellor sir has said, we'll definitely make more improvements in this course, and I am very hopeful that we will be able to do it in this currency of the course itself and further during the upcoming courses. So, sir, I am very, very thankful to you for your gracious presence, despite your pre-engagements, and still on such a short notice, you agreed to bless us with highly encouraging message for this inaugural function. Of course, sir, you have been all along very, very helpful and kind to us. Thank you very much, sir. I am very thankful to Professor U.K. Madali, Vice Chancellor, sir, for his valuable guidance, help, and support in all possible manner for making this program a great success. Professor P.D. Naik, Dean HBNI, has been a source of energy and support in developing this course all through since its inception. Thank you, sir. On this occasion, I would like to convey my sincere gratitude to our former Vice Chancellor, Professor P.R. Vasudev Rao, sir, for his valuable guidance and for inspiring us to develop online courses for HBNI. My sincere thanks to Professor Grover, Professor Dureja, Professor Mehti, Professor B.K. Naik, Professor H. Pal, Professor Sunil Ghosh, Professor Datta, and all the members of Board of Studies HVNI for guiding and helping us during preparation of the coursework. As our Dean sir had said in the beginning, that this has taken about 6 months' time, and it has been really a wonderful exercise for all of us. Thank you, sir. I would also like to thank our registrar, Mr. Christopher, Mr. Selvin, Deputy Registrar, Mr. Nair, Professor Naveen, Dr. Ansu Singhal, Mr. Jagdishan, AO3, APO HVNI, accounts and entire administration and IT team of HVNI for helping and supporting us for this noble task of national importance. I am very, very thankful to the faculty colleagues and supporting staff of this course for standing with HVNI for this mission. I am very much thankful to the Constituent Institute and off-campus center authorities of HVNI, Defense Forces, universities like Kumar Mangalam University, Gopal Bhai Sanani, companies like Ultratech Cement, Mahindra and Mahindra, EHS Group, nuclear plant, hydro plants, heavy water board, TMC, IPR, RMC, ACTRAC, hospitals and other private companies who have supported us by sponsoring participants from their organizations. I am also thankful to foreign participants who have shown so much interest in our course. Finally, my thanks are also due to all the participants, including foreign nationals, for joining HVNI in its first of its kind online courses on disaster management. I am thankful to all for this task. Any omission may please be ignored as unintentional. I feel proud and thank you all for making this event a great success. Jai. Right. Now we shall rise. Kalvanga, Vinda Himachal, Utkal Jaladi Taranga, Ab Shubh Name Jage, Tad Shubh Ashish Mange, Aaye Tab Jai Gatha. जन मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय जय हे. Thank you very much.